the importance of the bottom of your barefoot shoe. So we've obviously got the top bit, which we'll do on another video, but what we're talking about is kind of this bit really. So what are the 4 really key things that we need to consider? Well, a good barefoot shoe is going to give you lots of space here for the toes to spread. That's really important. It should be reasonably thin to the ground. We'll come on to that in a moment, how we can achieve that, so that you can feel you've got that good ground contact. It needs to be very flexible. That's really important not to hinder the movement. And it needs to be flat. In other words, what we call zero drop, so no heel, essentially. No difference in height between the heel and the toe. That's because the foot's designed to walk like that rather than be hiked up with a different heel raise. So in the bottom of the shoe, you've got several components. You've got the outsole. You've then got a midsole. Might be something like this. So an outsole might be one like this, our multi-grip. So that's our outsole. You've then got a midsole, and that's there. So this is obviously there to give some grip. Also needs to be flexible and not hinder mobility. You've got a midsole that is providing really the perhaps a little bit of protection to the foot, but also it's there, such as this one here, which is just a kind of a polyester material, which allows you to have the structure of the shoe. So that keeps all this together so that you can then sole lay afterwards. So you've got the midsole, then you've got something inside the shoe which we call an insole or an insole, various names, and this is providing some durability to the shoe. Perhaps it's also providing some comfort through shock absorption. And for traditional shoes, this could be really quite thick and squashy, but in a barefoot shoe, it's really a balance. Perhaps we want a little bit of shock absorption, perhaps not. Perhaps you want the ultimate in terms of closeness to the ground and ground feel. So all our shoes pretty much, or all our non-waterproof shoes, are designed to be able to take out the insole to get that bigger degree, if you like, of ground contact. So this is our Tanga with flexile insole. You take it out and then you are quite close to the ground. Only a 2mm lug and a 2mm base to the outsole, plus about 1 millimeter of midsole. So that gives you great ground contact. As long as you've got an outsole itself, which is built from a rubber compound, which provides great flexibility, and all ours are really high grade of natural rubber, synthetic rubber, giving you great flexibility as well as grip and durability. So that's the basics of what's at the bottom of your shoe and some considerations. On every website you should see what we call that stack height, which is the depth between where your foot is sat in the shoe and the ground itself. And that could be as low as 3 to 5 millimeter. It could be 10 millimeter. If it's a lot more than 14 or 15, then you need to consider why that is and what purpose you're using the shoe for. If, for example, you're looking for a full-on kind of mountain hiking boot like this, then you probably want to be having a little bit more depth in grip, the lugs. So this is a 6 millimeter lug. You need also perhaps to have a little bit more in terms of the midsole, which will protect you from sharp rocks, stones, difficult terrain. So this here is now still flexible, very flexible, but just giving you that bit of protection to the foot. It's not support, it's just that kind of little bit of protection. So that's a consideration on what we call stack height. So insoles are interesting in themselves. We use our kind of standard 3mm flexile, which gives a good balance between a little bit of shock absorption, but not hindering the foot, not cushioning the foot as such. A little bit of shock absorption, and as I say, most styles can be removed for greater contact. You need to make sure that what you've got is basically a sock liner over the midsole, so that you've got something that will move moisture and be comfortable against either the barefoot or the sock. So that's a consideration that you want to look at in your barefoot shoe as well, if you're wanting to take the insole out, or you think you might do. When you've got a very flexible shoe, like all our barefoot shoes should be, not just flexible that way, it's flexible all directions, if you like, four-way. So that's important, something to check out. So if you're going to be using it on rough terrain, then, and you've got a fully flexible midsole, such as our what we call our SoftFlex, then you may consider that you need just to have something like what we call a rock plate, very, very thin, 0.5 millimeter or so. This is made from TPU. We make them every other size, so you can just trim them to make sure they fit exactly. But all this does is it can slot in the shoe, and that will mean that when you're on those sharp stones, you've just got something that will give you that little bit of protection to the foot. So see it as a sort of a mobile midsole, if you like. So you either wear it with this soft flex, or if you've got a medium flex, which I'll come on to now, this midsole, it can uprate it a little bit further and give you that little bit more protection. So this is our second level, what we call medium flex, and this is a PU material, better than the material midsole, in the sense that it's just giving you that little bit, still very flexible, but just giving you a little bit more protection to the foot without losing that flexibility. And then, as I mentioned earlier, if you're going higher on very rough, arduous terrain, off track, then to have a thin nylon, it's only a millimeter, and that will give you a balance really of flexibility, but good protection also. Just to talk through finally of our insole types, I mentioned the flexile. This one, lovely sock liner to move moisture, but a great compound here to give you that little bit of shock absorption, just comfort within the shoe can be removed. Some of our shoes have Ortholite, which is really a medical grade shock absorbing material, really good. Still 3mm in some of our shoes, we put the standard, but what we can do also is uprate it to 6mm. So this comes as standard in our pace. It'll also be in our new kind of harder surface running shoe, the 6mm, and that's just giving you a little bit more. Also, if you're new to barefoot shoes, it might be something to consider as a transitioning tool, if you like, so that it's making it feel a little bit more like your older traditional shoes. Still got the zero drop, thin to the ground, but just giving you that little bit more shock absorption or kind of comfort. Also, it can be used as what we call a fit adjuster, a volume reducer. So if you're finding that you've got a little bit too much volume in the shoe, too much material maybe over your foot, over here, then by having a slightly thicker insole, that can help to create just a really nice fit. So these are a standard in our pace, as I mentioned, but also you can buy them separately and replace pretty much any shoe, any insole with the 6mm, bearing in mind it's going to take up a little bit more volume in the shoe, but it can make a real difference. Also, if you're a bit older and you've got, you know, as we age, we lose some of the that lovely fatty pad on the base of our soles, and so you can find that you can replace it, that feeling, that comfortable feeling really, with a little bit more shock absorption from a 6mm. We've just introduced our AirMax outsole, which we've put in some of our new styles where we're wanting to have quick drying and also to be cooler. So it's important here just to get this right at the back so that it doesn't fold up in the shoe, and we've worked hard to just create that design. So a little bit firmer here, still very, very flexible, with a lovely top sheet again to help move moisture and great breathability through the grid. Thank you for listening. So if you like what you saw here, why not check out some of our other videos or visit our website.